University of Florida. Pablo, do you want to introduce yourself and we can jump right into talking about your accelerator?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Pablo Casalimas, and we actually met through the Innovation Academy at UF in the dorms, the Living Learning Community, which was an awesome program. Really loved it. Met some amazing people through it, and it really kind of got me started on this path of entrepreneurship and innovation. And that's been like my world for the past 5 years, I would say. I started a content marketing agency in late 2015. It was basically the beginning of my junior year at UF, and I've grown that. We've worked with some of the top brands and top companies in the North Central Florida region ever since. And about a year ago, I've always been passionate about helping other founders succeed and other entrepreneurs, and so we launched it's basically like a seed accelerator, and it's completely virtual. So we help founders through a 10-week program that we do. We basically have a speaker come in each week throughout the program. We also do weekly office hours to make sure that the companies are making progress and to see if they have any roadblocks that they have and that we can help them with. And then at the end of the 10 weeks, we actually have a virtual demo day where they have the chance to actually pitch accredited investors and raise capital. So that's what we're doing. We have our third cohort that's going to be kicking off in about a month, February 15th. And yeah, really excited for it. Our application just launched for the next one, and we'll take somewhere around 8 to 12 companies as part of the program. And yeah, and the other thing that we're doing alongside that is we're actually raising a $5 million fund to start investing in companies and investing in the companies in our own program as
Oh,
well.
how awesome. That's so amazing. Wow. So it sounds like you've got some really cool stuff going on. What kind of, I'm curious, like, what kind of companies have you had so far? Like, what industries and what stage in business? Like, how long have they been up and running? Are they all startups? Are there people who are more established? Like, what's the mix looking like?
So it's all startups, and they're very early stage. The thing that I would say is different about the companies that we're looking for is we're looking for companies that have high growth potential, like something that's easily scalable, usually like SaaS products, like software as a service or
Mm-hmm.
mobile apps.
Who's
Uh,
someone that thinks this is incredible stuff?
yeah. It's awesome. I'll give you a few examples of some of the companies that we've had go through the program actually. So one of them that went through our first cohort last year, they're doing great right now. They're called EaseAlert, and they basically created the founder. His father is a firefighter, and his brother's a firefighter, and the leading cause of inline line of duty deaths, firefighters, is actually heart attacks. And part of the reason is because when the siren goes off at the fire station, it startles the firefighters. Most people
Yeah.
don't think about that, but it happens constantly, and that raises their blood pressure.
And yeah, it's literally like in a day's work. Like that's part of the job. I mean, not incredible in a good way, but very interesting. And I could see why. I mean, even just in my apartment earlier, I was meditating and they've been doing drilling, and someone upstairs was like, just started drilling, and they'd been doing it for a while, but this must have been right above me. And I startled myself, and it kept happening. And I'm not an easily startled person. So I just noticed that, and I physically could feel it. So I can only imagine like having that be a part of your actual job experience. So
Right.
you said, what do they do to combat that?
So they've created a smart band that firefighters will all be wearing while they're at the station, and it can also be used for firefighters that are not at the station. But it'll give them a pre-alert, so it'll just be a vibration,
Mm.
and
So they can
it'll
brace
pre-alert them.
themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So they can prepare themselves. So that's just one of the many companies that have gone through the program. They actually ended up raising a $300,000 seed round, and they're actually pitching different fire departments around Florida already. So that's pretty exciting.
Well, I live literally right around the block from the St. Pete fire station right downtown, and they'll have a lot of business if they go to them, because I can tell you there are sirens that go off every couple of hours, or not even, like throughout the day pretty steadily. It's become part of the soundtrack of my life. And yeah, so luckily it's far enough away that I don't get too startled by it, but I imagine that those firefighters do. That's really cool. Look at you. That's such I'm not surprised though. I mean, even just having gotten to know you a little bit in college, it's really, there are a lot of people in the Innovation Academy, and some people are there for different reasons, right? But some people really are just entrepreneurs at heart, and are there to work on innovation and do innovative things. And you definitely always stood out to me as one of those people. It sounds like you're right on trajectory of where you probably wanted to be when we were younger. And time has flown. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, no, the time has flown for sure. So I'll give you 2 more quick examples of
Please do.
our program, and then yeah, we can talk more about it. But so another one is called Rise Superfoods. It's a low caffeine alternative, coffee alternative, and it is a mushroom superfood coffee. The founder,
okay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. The founder actually, he went to, so we're reaching startups not like all over the East Coast, not just in Florida. This particular founder, he actually graduated from Harvard, and he worked for one of the top coffee brands, Maxwell House Coffee, as the brand manager. And after 2 years, he quit because he saw so many problems with coffee that he started his own mushroom superfood coffee. And they just
like chaga or something like that.
The what?
What's it called? Chaga?
It's called Rise Superfoods.
Oh no, but I meant like the mushroom itself.
Oh yeah, the mushroom. So there's 6 different mushrooms that they have in their blend. I think so. There's one that's lion's mane. There's like, they have some weird names. There's I don't remember the exact names of all of them. But apparently they've been proven in studies have shown that they can improve your endurance, your strength, your focus. So really interesting stuff. But what's crazy is that this guy just launched a website like in March of last year, and they're already doing, I believe I just saw an email come through, and I think he said that they're doing like over $20,000 a month in sales, which is incredible in less than a year.
You know, every single day I am like, I drink 1 cup of coffee and then I want more, but I have terrible insomnia. So it's like, I don't do that. I limit myself. Sometimes I drink a little bit of tea, but I do have that thought, if only there were something that could help, keep me up, but not. So that's really cool. I love it.
Yeah. And then I'll just give you one more last quick one is, it's called Aerolith, and basically these guys are creating the infrastructure to allow for 3D printing on the moon. They got a NASA grant over the summer, and they are basically creating a process for where you can take dirt on the moon and use it as filament for a 3D printer. So if you need a hammer, if your hammer flew away or broke, you don't have to call the ISS or call back to Earth. You can just 3D print one using dirt from the moon. That's another one, but really exciting stuff. And
that's insane. I'm just literally, my immediate thought is like, how do I get some art on the moon? Like, let's go. Like, how do I send a file for them to print, guys?
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a possibility soon, because NASA
has keep me in mind, because I know they have all kinds of programs, Dear Moon and stuff that, oh God, what is that entrepreneur's name? I can never remember it.
Elon Musk or?
No, I would remember Elon, but it's I can't remember it because it's Japanese. Yusaku Maezawa.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, he's got the Dear Moon project, and oh my God, if my uncle was watching this right now, we wouldn't be able to talk about anything else, because he's like the quintessential artist. stereotypes added. I would say I am the quintessential artist, stereotypes aside. I'm still very, the stereotypes are that we would be disorganized or like fixated or compulsive on that one thing, and in a way that's like gets the best of you, you know. I would say I am not that. He would say he is that, and I would agree. Not in a judgment way, just in a self-awareness way, you know. But one of his goals has always been to have a piece of art in space. So that's just something that like immediately comes to mind. But that sounds like such a great mix of different companies to just be able to casually work with, like throughout your process. And that was just the first round. So who knows what other things you guys are going to be moving on to, and how cool. So amazing. Like I love
it's definitely exciting for us. Me and my partner Justice, we're both really passionate about entrepreneurship. We're passionate about helping founders, and also the program. Like one of the amazing things for the founders is that it gives them a community, because starting a company like this is really, really difficult, and there's a lot of challenges and failure that you need to overcome.
Oh yeah.
And get past. And so the founders are kind of working through these things together, and now they have a community of others who are in different industries and doing completely different things, but sometimes face similar challenges, and they can relate to each other. So it definitely helps them.
I love that. It's really interesting because this is an idea that I have had a long time, and I'm building up, like you just mentioned. You have to face challenges and use everything as a building block and kind of just continue growing in whatever direction. But I was looking through my planner from last year, and it's something I've wanted to do for a long time, is to host like entrepreneurship summits and just invite on like, just a handful of different kinds of people for a recurring, but not like too recurring type of event where it's basically just like connecting and meeting new people. And it's not like in entrepreneurship and then potentially working with one another. So it sounds like you've got like the 3.0 version of that with investing and funding and all of those kinds of, numbers type things as well. I just am thinking like I would love to just even hear those conversations and make them public, like make it something that like as I gain a following, have my professional side of like my network tune in for, because that's what so many people are missing and wanting during this time, is just that connection on a professional level, on a personal level, and to meet new people, and it's obviously been a very huge challenge. But I just think that that's funny because I had just reflected on that earlier, and it sounds like that's something that you are very into. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a good starting point for you. I mean, you're already doing this with your show here. You could literally like open it up and start to have like 4 people on at a time,
Right.
5 people on at a time, and just call it like a entrepreneur roundtable or something like that.
Exactly.
So that's like a good starting point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of been working up to. And I'll get to that point, So maybe you'll want to come back, or maybe Justice would want to join in. We'll see.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
absolutely. So tell me about what are your long-term goals, or what do you? I know you're super into art, and I've seen some of the stuff that you posted, and it looks really, really good. But what is the long-term goal for you?
So I'm very lucky, I consider myself, and also just smart, because I went through the Innovation Academy and have thought about that for myself a lot. And one thing I'm just so excited about, I'll dive into like more different revenue streams and like the model that I have in mind. But one thing I'm so excited about is my Oculus Quest 2 is coming here in the mail by the 14th, so 2 days from now. And I've been really excited to get back into Tilt Brush, which is basically the Photoshop of VR. And I'll be drawing a lot more. I had gotten really into it in Marston. I was renting out the Oculus in the night after after the painting studio, after the print studio, after the ceramic studio, I was in Marston, and then I was doing Oculus Rift. So I've got my device coming, and I'm excited to, in addition to this kind of type of content, conversational, I'm excited to begin doing live mixed reality content and, having it be like me creating something, but what you're seeing is me, the creation that I am making in VR. So that's one thing that I've had as a long-term aspiration, which is finally like really coming to fruition, having an at-home VR experience for myself, which I can translate into an at-home VR experience for other people. And I've been fascinated with the idea of democratizing VR for a long time now, because it's always been something that is really hard to get your hands on, and the average Joe doesn't really know what that's like. The problem is you can't explain it through words or even through a screen. You have to experience it yourself. We've started doing YouTube VR videos and stuff all as an evolution, and we'll get to it. But I would really like eventually to offer my own like middle of the line headset that someone like, you remember those I'm just trying to find a product that can bring it as one. But you remember hit clips? Like back when we were really young?
I actually don't remember it.
There were these tiny little MP3 type things, and they had little miniature floppy disks hanging off, like 3 little ones. And you'd put it in and it would play 15 seconds of a song. That was like the height of technology at that period of time. But yeah, it's the same concept that like you could buy universes that I created in bundles, but like through a QR code. And it doesn't even really have to be me with the headset itself. Like it doesn't have to be my brand's design headset technically, but if no one else is doing it, I want to try, so that's something that I think is fascinating. And I've been getting more into figuring out how to connect with people in the industry. So I've got a bunch of connections now with the artists that Tilt Brush did its beta testing with. And so I'm becoming, connected with those people online, and hopefully having some conversations with them on here soon. That's one stream I have in mind. And it is the one I am most excited about because it's a very long-term goal. It's something that like my career will revisit that for a long time, because I remember downloading Tilt Brush, the app, when there were like 100 reviews and they were all computer nerds. No offense. Yeah. They were just saying like, wow, I'm not an artist, but this is cool. Like, yeah. And I was looking at that like, like they don't even know what this is, scrolling through. It's going to be something that's going to take a long time to put into fruition, but I have visions of public art installations that are interactive, and I've got ties with the Dali Museum, who has their own AR, VR, and I'm friends with some people there, connected with the COO and all those kinds of things that I've been working toward. So they're all very long-term goals for myself. And that's what I mean when I say I'm not like the stereotypical artist. I don't like saying that though, because it makes it sound like other artists just don't get it. And that's not my intention at all. I just recognize about myself that there is a rare quality in me where I see the world on a very macro scale and can navigate through it in the micro. Like I can see, this is the opportunity. This is how I get that opportunity. This is how I show up authentically and actually like am myself in the context of those spaces, and navigate through the world in that way, and not just focused on the brush and the paint. Like to me, like life is another material. There is a material world here, and that is my mission, sort of. Mostly is to connect with others, but I do that through my art. the mission that I'm speaking of right this moment, though, is to master material. And so that's why it could be printmaking, it could be painting, it could be ceramic, it could be VR, it could be public art installation. Any of the mediums I just am fascinated by, and I want to figure out how I can use materials to best connect with others. So that kind of gives you like a very broad understanding. But I spent a lot of last year just putting pen to paper and figuring out, treating my own business like an art piece, and thinking about what are the entities. And obviously we were trained where are customers hanging out? Like, how do I relate to them? What's the value prop? What's the different segments for everything? These are things I'm still really figuring out. And I've somewhat monetized them for myself, but not one thing so consistently yet that I can like move on and be like, oh, this is working on its own. Like, no, nothing yet. A goal I have for myself is to become like a metadata genius, or at least get someone near me that is, and have the SEO and everything actually like functioning, because it's something that is a huge weakness of mine, and I know it. So genius, I'm just saying to propel, but that's one of the goals that I have for myself. And I've also been thinking about different tiers of business, and having it be something that is a legacy company for me, and I can continue changing and feeding into and adapting forever, rebranding, I don't care. But the idea is that I am a self-sufficient person, and that my quarterly or yearly reports like are reflective of that. And at this point, I'm very much not at that statement that I could make confidently, but I get by. I can pay my rent. I'm working with high profile clients and big brands at this point compared to what I was doing in college. So I'm feeling really grateful, and I think that kind of paints a clear picture for you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, I think it really takes a long time to build something where it's, like able to completely sustain yourself off that one stream. That's pretty standard, but I think the best thing is to just go after the one that you feel most passionate about and go like all in on it. Because I think it's really tough when you're trying to build out like multiple streams of revenue at once. I think it's a lot better of a strategy to try to find one and then just go all in on it. And that typically works better, because once you build one and you're doing quality work and the clients see that, then you start to get referrals and you're able to grow even quicker. And on top of that, you're able to start offering more services and other things, because now people trust you. You have a brand, your reputation is established. So that's kind of how my agency started. Is we just did video for the first like 3-4 years. All we did was video, and then we built up a pretty strong brand around that. Like, everybody knew us as like one of the top video production companies in our area in Gainesville. And then we started getting bigger clients, and we had an opportunity to do other things, other projects, other work for them. So now we offer social media management, and companies have no problem trusting us with that. And then we also published a book, and we were able to, we sold almost $40,000 worth of pre-orders there. And
ooh, that's awesome.
I don't know if you hear background noise. That's my dog in the background.
That's okay. That's perfectly fine. No, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that idea too. And part of it has been just navigating through and figuring out what stream is the one to go all in on, because I've definitely had to pivot multiple times. But it's interesting that what's opened up for me is like sports art. A lot of different sports art opportunities right now. And I just went with it. I'm continuing to go with it. So that's pretty cool. I'm not supposed to like publicly reveal any clients yet until we like sign a contract. But I've been doing a lot of preliminary work in this past month with one specific company that represents a lot of different kinds of larger brands that work with sports teams, training facilities and stuff like that. And they fill those facilities with original works and of artists. They have large budgets for each piece. And they just keep throwing, what about this? Would you want to do this? What about this? Would you want to do this? So I'm like, yeah, of course. I always am coming back with these different designs, and they like all of them so far. So that's one thing that I've sort of been trying to pour a lot of energy into and get established so that I can begin to branch out. That's one thing that I've got such itchy fingers. As soon as that VR thing comes here, I'm gonna want to start, but I have to be level-headed and finish what I've got going before I dive too deep into something new. And I recognize that, which I would imagine you also have learned in some ways over the course of your journey how to balance. That's been my intention of this year, is just balance, and to figure out like with your integrity, what is right, what is the thing that is deserving of my attention right now, and what is it that I'm trying to like just get ahead of myself. It's very difficult to calibrate and recalibrate in that. At least I've found. I don't know if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that if the goal is to be an entrepreneur, then balance is something that you're constantly working towards, but I feel like it's something that you never actually achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like that's just been my experience. I just with all the things that I do, there's always something like getting out of whack, and like like most of the time I'm pretty active and healthy, and then I'll have phases where I just don't have time and I have to stop running or stop going to the gym, or different aspects of my life I need to compensate on, and this and that. And so and yeah, and I for me that's okay, because this is the path I chose, and I'm okay with that. So I think that that's something that no matter where you get to, you're always kind of working towards that balance. But at the end of the day, it's really important, I think, to do the things that you love, that you're really passionate about, because even when you're working crazy hours and working on weekends and staying up late, then you still have that fuel and you don't feel tired. Actually, usually feel energized. If you do something that you love. So that's how I feel most of the time. Like even when I'm exhausted from working a ton, a lot of times I'm just super grateful for the opportunities I've had, and I'm really glad I'm able to work on these things that I really love to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think gratitude is such a big part of it. It's something that I've always returned to and actively try to return to, because it's easy to feel very much swept away in the whirlwind of it all. And especially whenever you are like this close to just sensational individuals, like you meeting all kinds of cool people, cool technology and innovation. I know, like, I'm in St. Pete, Florida. So in downtown area, I followed the money. Like, this is the pinnacle of the art market, basically, at least for our state. And really, it's one of the best like arts alliance communities in what it's coming clear to me in the world. Like, it's a very put together, organized community for the arts. And it's no mistake that I'm here. Like, I've been working up to get to this space so that I could be opened up to those opportunities. And when you're in the thick of it, it can feel very easy to project too far in the future when you're always forward thinking and future thinking. So just gratitude is such a grounding practice. It pulls you back and is like, look around at this present moment and find something to be grateful for, even whenever it's health challenges or personal life challenges or whatever it is. Like there's always that something. And it's just like I had told you, give yourself that good grace, because I think that's what gratitude does. It graces us and reminds us that it's all on process. Like it's all on the path that we are trying to like live a journey. It sounds like cliche, and I know it pulls it into this like whole metaphysical realm, but I like staying in that headspace because it gives you that perspective of just recognizing like moment to moment, we're doing everything we can here. And it's really a special thing to be able to live a life like that. There's like such illusion. I think even being an entrepreneur now has become a kind of coded term, but there is such illusion around how much you need in life to actually get by, and the material things we have to like have to keep up with one another. And it's like all crock of shit. And it really is, though. Like it's actually a crock of shit. So that's one thing that I've become really comfortable with during this time. I don't know. That coffee table book does sound interesting, though, to shift gears a little bit. So are the contents of the book of different companies that you've worked with, or is it about innovation overall?
So the book just showcases the top innovations, tech, startups, entrepreneurs in our region. So I have a copy right here, and so this is what it looks like. This is the back cover, and the contents in the book are essentially the different companies that we have in here. These are pictures that were submitted by these companies, or in some cases we took. So this one we actually took these pictures. It's for a software company called OP Software, and this is the Innovation Academy actually. They're in the book. That's so funny that it flipped to that. but yeah, so each company typically has 2 pages. Some of them have more. Like the Cade Museum, they've got like I think 10 pages in the book.
That makes sense. Yeah.
College, they have a lot more pages. But yeah, so they basically submitted pictures and the copy, and then we had a designer that put it all together and editors that helped them with the copy and stuff. So it was a long process. I thought I would have it done for Christmas last year. Like a little over a year ago. It took for Christmas of this year, this past Christmas. So it was basically 2 years, almost 2 years working on it. It was like a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. And yeah, I mean, throughout the process, we sold just under $40,000 worth of pre-orders, and we have over 80 companies, individuals, organizations in the book. So
Right.
it was a great way. It was a great way to connect with like a lot of the entrepreneurs in the region, and so now I'm like really well plugged in, and a lot of these people who are in the book, we had a couple of them who ended up becoming our clients and hiring us to do more stuff for them, which is awesome. It was a great way to kind of build the brand for us.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing way to build the brand. That's such a smart way to go about a book. I mean, just including all of the different movers and shakers, and then letting it just be something that they continue helping you market because they're included. Like that's a very good way to go about it. And that's awesome. I mean, congrats. It's something that I had actually like I wrote and journaled a lot. I do like illustrative book writing. And I have really just as a journal for me in the past is what I've done that as. But last year I began on January 1st a new book or a new sketchbook that in the process of creating, I was kind of like seeing how many people were having these existential realizations at the same time, and I was putting pen to paper and creating art about it. So I have begun like processing of making an actual book out of it, and I've done that. It's all formatted. I'm going to want to redo it again, but I've been back and forth with the print person just to get one copy. It takes like so much energy, and I didn't realize that it would be like that before. And I have experience printing, so I was like very surprised. I mean, but that's just printing. So there's a whole ass process out there, and I had to surrender to that and realize like, yeah, this is going to take maybe 2 years to actually even have complete. And then there's the whole continuing to market it aspect of things. So that's the thing. I think it's a good thing to set those kinds of goals. Like by Christmas, this is going to be done. It's going to be out. It's going to be, one of the best books of the year, like all that stuff. Just like saying it to give yourself the energy, but being okay when you realize like, oh wait, it's going to take maybe a little bit longer. It sounds like you've picked that up on your journey as well. Yeah, adaptability is like such a key, literally. I mean, you can't be in the entrepreneurial realm and not adapt easily. Like, I know that that's something that I've learned through art and have learned through this journey as well.
Yeah. This is something that we share with the founders in our program always, is that you have to have the right balance between having a direction that you're going in and having a clear vision of what you want to build and what problem you want to solve, but also being flexible on that journey, being adaptable and understanding that no matter what you build, it's not going to be perfect. And you're going to have to make adjustments when you go to the market, because you're going to realize there's 10 different things that you didn't think about that once consumers are trying your product and using it, that they're going to realize there's problems with, and you're going to have to fix those things.
Yeah. So only 10, you might be lucky if it's only 10.
Exactly. Yeah. So every big product, I'm always fascinated by some of the stories of some big companies and how they started. I don't know if you ever heard the story of Airbnb and how they started.
Tell me, but I think I have, but I still want to hear it from you.
They're designers by trade, and they basically got together. Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia got together in San Francisco, and they got together to start a tech startup, and they were working on it. They were doing something else unrelated to Airbnb, and they were struggling to pay rent. And there was some really big design conference happening in San Francisco, and they were like, "Oh, why don't we just like rent out some beds? Why don't we rent out like air mattresses in our living room to help pay for the rent?" And they rented out like 4 air beds in their living room. And as soon as they finished that and the people left, they looked at each other and it was like, oh, this is it. And then they started Airbnb, but they had no plans of doing that. They just did that because they couldn't afford to pay rent.
Exactly.
I'm always fascinated by how this happens. Like a lot of these big companies, people think like, oh, they had this huge plan and they were going to make it happen, but like, just happens by mistake or by chance sometimes.
Yeah, our circumstances position us to be able to be incredible problem solvers if we can rise above the fear of just being in the challenge itself. And when we do that, we can navigate through the world in a way that really helps us convey that inspiration and that adaptability like they had done. It's something that neither of them probably would have anticipated ever doing. But that's the beauty of it. It really is.
Yep, that's a part of the journey. And there's so many different companies that kind of, in the early days, the way they started is just fascinating. Like, have you heard of Twitch before? So I guess it's like it's pretty big in like the video game streaming world, or online gaming streaming world. And when they were starting out, so they had actually just failed a previous startup. They were working on building something like Google Calendar, and 2 months later, Google Calendar launched and then kind of destroyed their business because they were charging money for it, and Google Calendar is free.
Right.
So that didn't work out. So they started something else. In the beginning, all they did, it was called Justin.tv, because one of the four co-founders, his name was Justin Khan. And all they did was basically strap a camera to his head. And this is like back in like 2007, I think, 2008. In those days, there wasn't any Facebook Live, or there was no way to kind of stream live video like on YouTube or anything like that. So they were like the first people to like stream video live, at least like for a long period of time. And basically the whole idea is they're going to stream Justin's life 24/7. So he walked around with a backpack with a laptop and everything he needed in order to stream video and a camera on his head, basically. And that was Justin.tv. And then it turned into Twitch, which sold for $1 billion to Amazon.
That's incredible. Damn. Dang. Do I remember were you at CES? Do I remember?
We usually plan a CES trip every single year, and we take aspiring entrepreneurs and we book a mansion out there, and it's a whole cool experience. Unfortunately, because of COVID, this is the first year we haven't gone since 2017. I think 2017 January was the first time we went. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it was some good experiences. We met a lot of amazing people out there. I met Gary Vee twice over there, and met a lot of other amazing people like Tony Hsieh, who, rest in peace, just passed away a few months ago, I think 2 months ago, in a house fire. But he was the founder of Zappos.com, which also sold to Amazon for $1 billion, by the way. But I got the chance to go to this beautiful trailer park that he built in downtown Gainesville, a very like impoverished area where there's not really anything, a bunch of abandoned buildings. And in the middle of that, you have this really, really beautiful trailer park that it's made up of all these Airstreams, and they've got a pool, a hot tub, a community bar, and living space with like TV, video games and stuff. And it was such a beautiful community. We went there 2 years in a row, actually, and got the chance to talk to him and other amazing people there. And he had a pet alpaca called Marley, and the alpaca just kind of walks around, and you can like pet it, you could feed it carrots and stuff. And
I fucking love that. That's amazing.
And if you piss it off, it'll spit on you. It spit on a lot of people. It spit on me one time. It was the cutest thing ever, though.
That is like the funniest humble brag story. Like, yeah, his alpaca spit on me once.
Yeah, but really cool experience. We had a chance to connect with some really inspiring people and stuff. And I don't know when's the next time we're going to do it again, but I look forward to that day. And
yeah.
In the meantime,
well, keep me in mind when it finally does happen, because I would love to go to CES. I learned about the World's Fair in depth in one of my art history classes, and it just seems like today's World's Fair. Like when Disney would show, I mean, I'm not trying to fetishize the World's Fair, because there was a lot of really racist shit that went down at the World's Fair, so I'm just gonna like say that right now. But it's the same concept. All of the biggest companies in the world all coming together and showing the latest architectural development and technological development, and look what we can do with materials. And now it's like, oh yeah, teleportation, sure, we could do that. It sounds very plausible. It's like, holy shit, what have we merged into? But I'm all about that. Like, I am fascinated by innovation.
Yeah, no, it's a really fun experience, because you really do get to see like the latest things in the market, and you get to test them out. Like we tested out a lot of the virtual reality stuff. And we tested out over there. Typically every year BMW has a huge presence. We got to test drive the latest BMWs, and they had like the latest massage chairs and just like pretty much like all the coolest like consumer tech on the market. We had a chance to kind of experience
it. Gives you a glimpse into the future of things. And I mean, takes like maybe 8 more years for it to actually, depending on the product, for it to actually come like to the market. So, and that's now. So who knows, as we grow exponentially, what that timeline, how that will change. But the idea of being able to just peer into the future, like look into the window of what is to come with smart city development and, you know, the way that our houses will evolve and all these different things are the vast majority of people have no idea. And I'm barely scraping the surface. I mean, who knows what the military has been working on for forever. But those are the kinds of things that just like fascinate me. And I love being able to get one-on-one or like as up close to that kind of technological advancement as possible. It's a very exciting thing. Also kind of scary sometimes, but you know, that's the thing. We just have to be able to try to make it as I'm trying to think of the right word, as healthy for humanity as possible. But the problem with that is that the answer depends on who you ask, you know, on what ways the world will evolve for the better or for the worse. It's just a matter of your vantage point, really. So
Yeah, I think it's all perception, and some people have a view that technology is just going to take over the world or just be really negative for humans and stuff. And but there's also the other side, and
yeah,
which I think there's a lot of amazing things that technology is doing for humanity, and I think there's a lot more that's going to be done. And at the end of the day, it's all perception.
absolutely. It is all perception. Well, I mean, on that note, like I feel very excited for you and for your journey on the ways that you are immersing yourself in that development, because it's something that seems like it's your art, you know, it's something that you, from what I can tell, are able to see it like I see color, you know, it's something that is just intuitive and fascinating and complex as fuck. But somehow it seems that we both have a semblance of understanding and curiosity that returns with each day in that. It's a very special thing, Pablo.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Do you I feel like I'm at a good place to wrap up here in a second. Do you have any like other questions for me? And I feel like I've got maybe like one other question for you, but I wanted to open the floor and let you know that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, go for it. I think this is a good place for us to start wrapping up.
Yeah. So you had asked me, you know, what's like a long-term goal, and I'm curious to know the same for you, whether it's a goal or more of like a vision for yourself. Perhaps it's something you haven't started or something that you've already feel like you've begun. I just am curious to see like long term, like taking ego completely out of the picture, just what for your life do you crave to bring to fruition?
So for me, that would be, so I feel like, one of the things that I experienced going to college, I felt that the the higher education system is sort of lackluster for people looking to get into entrepreneurship. People start looking to start their own businesses. I think there's a lot missing there, and I felt like it failed me personally.
Yeah.
And so part of what we're doing with 161 Group with our accelerator program is, the long term of that is actually creating an institution for for founders, basically for people looking to start companies, particularly high growth startups. And that's kind of what we're working on. And because I feel like I wish there was something like this when I realized that I couldn't get this type of education at a university, and
Right.
kind of had to go on YouTube and Google and interview people and get a lot of mentors and figure it out myself. That's what we're trying to do, is create create that system, create that educational institution for founders. And the beginning of it is just starting with an accelerator, but we have a lot more plans in the future and ways to grow it. But the reality is, it's always going to be something that we're not going to charge people $40,000 to go to. Quite the opposite. If we really believe in the people that we're selecting into our program, and we really believe in the ideas and the companies that they're trying to build, then it's the opposite. We're actually going to start investing in them and then just taking a small percent of what they're building, right? And then that will pay off tenfold in the long run.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're working on. That's my long-term goal, what I want to accomplish. I think that there's a huge lack of education when it comes to building startups, starting companies, particularly in the Southeast United States. In California, for example, they've got access to a ton of capital. A lot of successful tech founders have started in San Francisco, and they're reinvesting and mentoring, but we don't have that here. A lot of people in Florida.
Yeah, they have so many hubs for that. And there's obviously Silicon Valley, Menlo Park. I feel like LA is like yes and no. But you're right. Florida, there's not yet. I think that we are evolving, but that's a good region to focus on, I think, because there's proof out there that it's possible to do that, and that hubs of innovation like that can really launch amazing growth and potential and all kinds of individuals who maybe wouldn't have had the ability to do that. Like I think that the part of Innovation Academy that I really am the most grateful for is the people that I met, not the things that I learned in the classroom. I felt like it was a lot of busy work. So I really admire that path to institutionalize in some way or fashion, like what we both felt we missed in the program. And it sounds like, in short, you want to be able to really invest in people, like to really invest in the individual and take them through that whole process. Because like you had said, like products and services will change. There are too many factors involved. It's not about, one thing that I guess room in some way did teach me was to fall in love with the problem and not my solution to the problem. It's like such a simple way of putting it, but it's something that so many people still miss at every stage in the game. Like you could be 18-year-old or a 55-year-old who has done it for this long with varying degrees of success, but a lot of people get really stuck on that. But this is the thing I created. Like they get attached to it, but it really is about like being able to navigate through it and figure it out. And it takes a certain kind of person to do that. So investing in that person is how you get the growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge key point. It's all about being obsessed with the problem, obsessed with the consumer that you're trying to solve a problem for. And that's why our program, we don't select based on ideas or industry, because we're not smart enough. Nobody's smart enough to say, oh, this is going to be big in 10 years. Like nobody can predict that. A lot of the best ideas sound bad at first. And most smart people will actually.
And the people who keep up with why you're going to do that? That's crazy. And then they're just kind of like, whatever, dude, you just don't see what I see. And
exactly. So that's why we invest in people. It's all about that. Like you said, we're just looking for founders who have proven themselves or are proving themselves because they're making a lot of progress in a short period of time. You can tell they're, obsessed with the problem and, they're really going after it. They're not just talking about it. So that's everything that we're working on.
Perfect. Yeah, I was about to ask if you would do a speed list of what it is you're looking for, but that pretty much answers it. You're looking for people who are obsessed with the problem, who clearly are very process driven and are the individuals that can evolve it. Are there any other like metric based things that you guys pay attention to whenever you're looking for individuals?
I mean,
or is it kind of just depends?
yeah, it usually depends because they're at different stages in their journeys. For example, like I said, there was one who he graduated from Harvard, worked 2 years for the top one of the top coffee brands, then went off and started his company.
Right.
And then we have others that are like in their sophomore or junior year of college. So they're
Mm.
different ages. They have some of them have less experience. But what we're looking for is just anything that shows they've proven themselves. Like, and that doesn't necessarily have to be something related to business or startups or entrepreneurship. It just, have they done anything really difficult in their lives and
Mm.
overcome that, right? So sometimes, like for example, our first
Oh, well, we could talk because I'll tell you, I've overcome some stuff. No, I'm just joking. Throwing my name in the hat there, but seriously though, I love that. I think that's so important because you can't really base that kind of stuff off metrics. That's why I asked. I mean, that would be my idea of it. At least me not knowing, me not being in your shoes, I can't really say that. But that's why I was curious to ask that question because there's just so much that treating people as individuals really and seeing them as the individual, you learn that we can't compare stories. We didn't start in the same place. We don't want to end up in the same place. So we're probably not going to be in the same place now, but you can certainly find lots to respect about various individuals if they have proven themselves to themselves. Like that's the biggest thing, really.
right.
Because I mean, Lord knows I've proven myself to myself at this point. Like I don't question my capabilities any longer. I don't allow insecurity to fester in the way that at one point in my life I was far more susceptible to allowing have happen. And it's really radical, but God, that's like pretty much the biggest thing, like across the board, no matter what, entrepreneurship or not, just like life hack. If you cannot doubt yourself, you'll end up okay. God, it's so hard for so many people. I don't know. I mean, I've experienced it, but all I know is wrapping as a moment of gratitude. I feel really grateful, and I'm sure you can relate that I'm 24 and I figured this much out. Like, I still know that I don't know everything, and I really don't really know anything for certain, but like, I look at the life lessons that I have taken in and absorbed and like really understand as truth, and also recognize I'm just so young. There's just so much. We're just going up from here, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I see it. Is we're just getting started with everything that we're doing with 161 Group, my agency. I feel like we're just getting started, and I think that's a good mindset. Jeff Bezos from Amazon says every day is day one, and if you think about it, that's why they've continued to grow so fast. It's almost like impossible to conceptualize that a company so big can grow at such a rapid pace, and they've continued to do it. Especially like as soon as COVID hit, I think they were hiring something like 100,000 people
Mm-hmm.
per month or some crazy number like that. It's incredible, and I think it's all about the mindset. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you for having me on. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Wish you the best with your show and keep me updated about it. Would love to check back in the future.
Absolutely. I will. Thank